Australians are being urged to take control of their social media. Joining us now is 2023 Australian of the Year, Taryn Brumfitt, who is the founder of the Body Image Movement. Taryn, really appreciate you making the time for us. Thanks so much. We keep seeing social media being blamed for every problem we have. When it comes to body image, and particularly young girls, though, a lot of the research seems to suggest that a lot of that is warranted. How do you think we need to be getting around those negative impacts, particularly for people with young people in their lives? What's the most important thing, do you think, is needed to counter those negative forces we see on social media?
Yeah, I mean, I think we need to acknowledge that social media is part of the problem. It's not the whole problem. I think everyone wants to demonise social media, but it's whether you like it or not, it's here to stay. So I think we need to remind ourselves, kids and adults alike, that this is not something that is being done to us. We are in the driver's seat. We are in control. Who are we going to allow into our phones and our lives and to our hearts and our minds? We get to choose. And I think Jameela Jamil does such a great job in the Embrace Kids documentary. She says block, mute, delete, repeat. And it's 4 really powerful words that kids are really taking to these 4 words. And it's our job as adults and grown-ups to remind them to be discerning about who they allow in.
Taryn, do you think it's harder or easier for young people these days? Since, for example, you and I were teenagers, there was the 90s anorexic supermodels. We've seen a real body positivity movement since then, in the last sort of decade or so, really take off. Do you think it's easier now for them, or is the internet making it just so much harder?
Look, I think it was hard, and I still think it's hard today. And I think we've got a long way to go. But what we do have on our side now is the science that tells us what to do when it comes to how we feel about our bodies. It's very alarming that 77% of Australian adolescents are in body image distress. We know of that group that they are 24 more times more likely to be depressed or have anxiety. But the flip side of that is what we also now know is that people with a higher appreciation of their body image are more likely to move their body, eat fruit and vegetables, wear sunscreen, do all the things that we want to be doing with our bodies. They're less likely as adolescents to smoke, drink, take illicit drugs and vape. So we've got all the evidence that suggests that we really must focus on making people feel good about their bodies and not bad about their bodies.
So you've just launched a new program aimed at promoting healthy body image for very young children. I'm talking toddlers, preschool age kids. Do we really need to be starting that early? Do toddlers really have any sort of concept of body image, do you think?
100%. There was a systematic review of 12 studies that were done around the world. 10 of those studies showed that 60 to 80% of children under 6 showed evidence of body dissatisfaction. So absolutely, this is about prevention. That's what we do at the Embrace Collective. We prevent eating disorders and body image issues, and the earlier that we get in to support our kids, the better. It's why we've created Body Blocks, which is a world first. It's a professional learning program for early childhood workers. It's free. And we're teaching kids how to have a healthy relationship with food and moving their bodies through educators, through teachers and childcare workers. When we spoke to educators, they said to us, "Don't you dare give us another thing to do. We are so stretched." So the actual modules themselves, there's 7, they're under 10 minutes. People can watch them in their tea break, on their lunch break, on the bus, and it will really have an impact on how kids feel about their bodies.
Taryn, just finally, you've had almost a full year now as our Australian of the Year this year. How have you found that experience? I know there was a bit of blowback initially when you were chosen. These days, anyone in the public eye, as you've no doubt learnt this year, rightly or wrongly, is seen as a bit of fair game. What has the title meant to you this year? How's it changed your life?
So I'm really focused on our mission to reach 1 million children. That was always the mission at the start of this year. I think it's day 286. Not that I'm counting down, but it's. I think I'm counting up still. We've had an incredibly successful year in getting the message out. We're seeing the tide is turning about how people consider body image now not to be just a hashtag love your body proposition, but something that's really important for our physical health and mental well-being. We received the federal funding. We're rolling out 9 initiatives. And for anyone who's watching, our free resources, you can get them at bodyimageresources.com, and they're making a real difference to not just the little ones, but everyone's lives across Australia.